record. And yeah, if you are worried about privacy, please keep your microphone and your video off. Otherwise, I'd love to see your faces. I'm Kirsten, and my pronouns are she, her, hers. I've been with Adventure Programs for over 4 years now. This is May. She's assisting today. Do you want to introduce yourself at all, hun?
Hi, I'm May. I'm with Adventure Programs as well.
Sweet. So I'd like to start off by acknowledging that we are fortunate to be able to study and work on the unceded traditional and ancestral territory of the Chumash people. Much of the knowledge that I share in these workshops comes from traditional ecological knowledge preserved and passed down through thousands of years by Indigenous peoples. I hope that this presentation can do justice to that tradition of sharing knowledge about how to live off and protect the land, while also acknowledging that the past and present original inhabitants of this land have been irrevocably harmed. I realize that these are just words, but I hope that these words can create awareness and be a step towards future change. This is my 7th workshop this quarter. I think May's been at 3 or 4 of them now, helping out. This one's called Hiking Barefoot and Other Ways to Connect with Nature. The purpose of this workshop is to learn new ways to become aware of and connect with nature. We'll talk about using all of our senses, the benefits of quietness and solitude, and the health benefits of connecting with nature, as well as a bunch of other activities and things you can do to help your nature connection. I've actually already taught lots of workshops and classes on this topic, or not specifically this topic, but related to nature connection. And I've been a trip leader, a guide, camp counselor, worked with people of all ages in the outdoor settings. And I've used a lot of these activities with them to kind of help facilitate that nature connection. So I have a lot of experience in this area. And yeah, please feel free to type any questions or comments in the chat, or if I invite you to turn your mic on, you're welcome to do that as well. Let's see. All right, so why connect with nature? My personal educational passion is nature connection, which helps create a lifelong loving attitude towards the outdoors and forms a basis for later environmental education and advocacy to take root. I believe that nature connection must come before advocacy, because without that love of nature, learning about environmental problems leaves students feeling completely hopeless instead of invigorated and ready to take action. Also, human social and developmental evolution all happened before modern day cities and technology in outdoor and natural settings. This means that the human baseline for how one should act and feel is all centered around nature. People are hardwired to function in nature, meaning that mental, emotional, and physical health can all be heavily influenced by contact or lack thereof with the natural world. For over 200,000 years, humans have developed to always be outside, constantly moving, interacting with the natural world. A couple hundred years of living modern stationary lives, indoors, stooped over desks, etc., hasn't changed our basic needs. Studies show that there are major health benefits to being in the outdoors. These include living longer, happier, healthier lives. Certain types of attention deficit disorders are also only considered disorders because modern society boxes people in. But we aren't meant to sit in a box. We're meant to be running around barefoot outside. When you put kids with ADHD outside without shoes on, they'll teach you things you actually never knew there was to know about nature. They'll even do better in classes once they develop connection with nature. I'm here today to help you climb out of the box that you're in, whatever room that's in, your computer room, and go outside, all right? All right, yeah, your first step to connecting with nature really is going outside. Just for a minute, for an hour, for a whole month, any access to fresh air is better than no access. You can simply step outside your front door, walk down the street, or if you're feeling pretty ambitious, you could start a vegetable garden. May, you're up.
Oh, sorry. So a big part of being in nature is finding nature. And you can find nature anywhere, even in a really big city like Los Angeles, San Diego, Santa Barbara, it's going to be there. And maybe it's a little bit small, something like a dandelion sprouting out of the sidewalk, or pigeons, cockroaches, pets, anything like that. And wherever there's life, there's gonna be more. Like, just keep looking. Let's see. Also in like large cities, you're gonna find stuff like botanical gardens. I know Santa Barbara has some. San Diego has a pretty famous one in Balboa Park. And yeah, it's not really nature. It's not wild, but it's still plants and outside, and a lot of times there's like a lot of pollinators. Um, Another really good way to find nature is letting nature come to you, and you can do that by bird watching, actually. So, especially with current conditions, and we're really not supposed to be going outside too much with the current pandemic, should be staying at home as much as possible. You can set out some bird feed and just watch all the birds come. And of course, please make sure that you're putting out the correct food. You don't want to accidentally kill any of the local birds. So do your research beforehand, please.
Thanks, May. So now that you've found nature in whatever form you found it in, we want to challenge you to figure out what you're seeing out there. There's so many different kinds of plants, animals, insects, and more that you might not know the names of. We want you to go out, look at the animals and plants, and then go back home and find them in field guides or look them up on Google. If you can't figure out what they are, consider posting a picture and a description on a citizen science project like iNaturalist. Usually someone will get back to you pretty soon with an identification, and then you know what it is, and you can look it up for more information. I personally have a whole stack of field guides at home. One for birds, one for reptiles, one for mammals, and probably like 47 for plants because I love plants. But you don't need that many. You don't even need any because Google's great, especially in California. Google's really good for identifying plants and animals. Other countries I found are a little bit more difficult. Not all other countries, but some are. So keep that in mind. You might want to book. I actually write for an ethnobotany website, and one time I was mapping out all the edible plants in an orchard that we have in Isla Vista called Sueño Orchard. I found this one tree with weird green fruits and broke it open just to see what was inside because I kind of knew I had an idea of what plants were supposed to be in the orchard, but wasn't sure what this one was. And that's what it looked like on the inside in the image there. But yeah, so I saw the inside, I smelled it, kind of like looked up all the information I could think of about the tree itself, the nut, all that. And I saw, oh, yep, it's definitely an macadamia nut. So I went back out and ate it. Pretty cool. Moral of this story, though, I was able to make this connection with a new plant through look, feel, taste, smell. And with the help of a little curiosity and a field guide, I discovered what it was. And I think that's a really good way to connect with nature for anything. Although I wouldn't necessarily recommend tasting, smelling, and touching an animal you find in nature. But you can definitely look at it, take some pictures of it, and then go look it up. Once you've properly identified your animal, plant, or mineral, a good way to connect your neural pathways even more is through artistic expression. Consider painting or drawing what you found, make art out of the leaves or something, or go create a nature journal with notes, sketches, put photos in there, whatever you want. It's your journal, but it's a pretty cool way to kind of keep track of your natural journey. Another thing you can do is go out and take photos of what you found. I think photography is a really good way to convince your mind to seek out nature, even in the most urban areas. It'll help you keep your eyes peeled for new discoveries, and you'll start seeing like little spots of color that you go explore, and you'll find more often than not, it's plants or animals you didn't know were there. And additionally, if you get any good with using a camera, you might have something pretty to hang on your wall or give to your mother for Christmas.
And oh,
go for it. Sorry.
There's lots of ways to connect with the outdoors. You've got outdoor recreation, which is like a huge umbrella term for stuff like hiking, soccer, camping, skiing, backpacking, scuba diving, surfing. Honestly, if you have an interest, it's out there. Like there's lots of like wacky things. I've heard of like stand-up paddleboarding yoga, which sounds a little counterintuitive, but I guess that's your thing. And my personal favorite is like hiking, stand-up paddleboarding, just like going for a swim in the ocean. And if you personally don't have like a current favorite outdoor activity, that's totally fine. It's never too late to start. I didn't really start stand-up paddleboarding until like college, and I'm only a second year. So, and you can join a group or take classes for whatever you're interested in. Just, start small and then build from there. And outdoor recreation is also like, it's a really good way to connect with people, to meet people, make friends that you otherwise never would have met, which kind of leads us into our next slide. Kirsten will take away.
Thanks, man. Yeah, so as she was saying, connecting with nature can also be facilitated by finding a group of close friends with similar interests in the outdoors. Shared stories, epic adventures, and almost disasters, or actual disasters, make for great ways to build a close-knit group to spend time with in and out of nature. Also, a lot of outdoor activities are a lot safer if you're with a friend or two. May, do you have a story?
Yeah. So just like a quick little story about like how being outdoors helps you find a community. I personally got started in the outdoors with a church camping group. When I was about 6 or 7 years old, my family joined a bunch of other families for like 4th of July. It was like 4th of July camping weekend. And we would play like games. We would have these big barbecues. Me and the other kids from the group would like organize all of these songs and skits around the fire. And honestly, they're some of my favorite childhood memories that I look upon very fondly.
Thanks, May. Also, I just realized I wasn't sharing my screen, so I apologize for that. It's probably pretty boring. Cool. Yeah. Community is great. Would recommend. That being said, though, be mindful that large groups, drugs and alcohol, and technology like phones and speakers do make it harder to connect with nature on a deep level. It can also make it harder for other people around you to find connection with the outdoors. Please be respectful of yourself and others. On the other hand, many people recommend going out into nature without anyone else. May is going to tell us why that might be. Oh, you're
muted. Yeah. So honestly, even though going outside is a really good way to connect with people, it's also a really good way to connect with yourself. We live in a really busy and noisy world, a lot of like traffic and commercials and just like all of this like media just like constantly shoved down your throat. And solo hiking like gives us a really rare opportunity to just like escape from all of the hustle and bustle of the cities and towns where we normally live, and just like gives us like an opportunity to actually hear ourselves think and just self-reflect and relax. In addition, when you hike alone, you get to set your own pace, so you're not being slowed down by a big group, or maybe you're, instead of having to constantly keep up with the group, you're kind of allowing yourself to like stop and smell the roses, just stop and explore and enjoy the journey over the destination. And you also kind of get a chance to like see what you're made out of, like truly test your wilderness survival skills, since you won't have other people to help you with food, shelter, etc., etc. But that being said, it's still very important to let other people know where you are. If an accident should occur, search parties will know where to look for you, as long as you remember to leave like your location with somebody else. It's like on the outside, that's like still in the city. One more thing before we move on is the presence of a single person is a lot less detectable to wildlife than a large group, which means you'll have a lot more opportunity to see and hear wildlife. And we're actually going to get into that a little bit more on the next slide. So when you're like doing solo hiking, maybe try to be like as quiet as possible for maybe just like, it doesn't have to be the whole time, be like 30 to 45 minutes. Just like maybe take off your shoes and like try to be like as stealthy as possible. You can kind of make a little game out of it. And I feel like this really helps you appreciate the sounds of nature. And a lot of times, because like, you know, suddenly you're a lot less detectable, a lot of birds and other wildlife will become a lot easier to spot and hear. You know, they live all around us. They're constantly looking for mates, and they're raising their young, and they're living and they're dying. And even when we're in nature, sometimes we miss it because, you know, we're chatting or listening to music or whatever. So, and it will go unnoticed unless you genuinely try to like blend in.
Thank you very much, May. So now we kind of begin to get into a slightly more challenging set of nature connection activities. Still, anyone can do them. You can do them at any phase in your nature connection journey. But I do think that some of the other ones we talked about are easier for beginners. But yeah, so here we go. All who wander are not lost. But if you do get lost, who cares? Part of connecting with nature is paying attention to your surroundings. Wandering can help you find things you didn't know you were looking for and see things that you didn't know existed in your neck of the woods. We recommend kind of just walking along, maybe touch and smell plants as you go, as long as you can positively identify them as not dangerous. Also, going alone and staying quiet are important for wandering so that you'll be less of a disturbance and will be able to see and hear more nature, as May was just saying. One time, early COVID, I decided to start exploring my neighborhood, kind of like my mom's property, and then all the surrounding land, like the neighbors that agreed to let me do that. And over the course of a week, I found a million things that were super cool, but some of the coolest were a field of forget-me-not flowers. I didn't know we even had those out there. Remnants of an overrun vineyard, literally on my mom's property. She's only got an acre and a half. It's not huge. A banana slug, didn't know we had those. Half-buried farming machinery. I don't know, didn't know there was farms out there. A wild honeybee hive, and a wood rat nest. You can see the grapes on the left and the wood rat nest on the right. Pretty cool. But yeah, it was amazing to see all these things I never knew were there. I was just in awe that we all kind of like walk around all our lives and it's right in front of us, but we never see it. Another activity we got for you is being barefoot in nature. That's kind of what the whole workshop was named after. But yeah, your feet have an absurd number of nerve endings in them and are incredibly sensitive. Just feeling grass or dirt or sand between your toes shoots off hundreds of signals in your brain and actually stimulates your mind. Humans throughout history were barefoot for a very long time, and that was like a really big part of being human and interacting with nature. I really kind of want to convince people that this is pretty important for you. Bare feet also leaves less impact on plants and like smaller like animals and insects, because hiking boots are pretty heavy and can trample and kill vegetation. Also, bare feet kind of have pretty good grip. If you're rock scrambling or hiking on muddy paths, you might consider going barefoot. It might help you out. You might not slip as much. It also feels good. Honestly, the grass tickling your toes, kind of like the squish and squelch of mud, I think it feels awesome. And it can really help you experience nature at a different level. The sit spot is a nature connection activity that can easily be done anywhere in the world, but it's definitely best done where you won't see other people or kind of human-made objects. You want to choose a comfortable place outside and practice quietness and solitude, just like we were talking about earlier. We 100% recommend being barefoot and sitting directly on the ground, but if those don't make you feel comfortable, that's totally fine. You can sit however you want. Sit spot is kind of like meditation. You're going to listen to your surroundings, blend in with the natural world, and watch it to come to life around you. Pay attention to how you feel emotionally and physically. Expand your senses beyond yourself, but also look within. This can be a super quick 5-minute interlude between activities, or you can spend hours doing this. Just make sure you always come back to the same kind of home base for your sit spot so that you can experience all the ways that your little area change from day to day and season to season. Also, animals get more used to you if you're there regularly, and so you might actually see more and more critters come out to play, while you're there. Another one we got for you is called childlike wonder. This activity, or maybe like outlook on life, is something we recommend, just like for anybody, kids, adults, whatever. It doesn't matter if you've got kids in your life. We also want to distinguish between childlike and childish. Childish is kind of a derogatory term that like is insulting. You know, you call someone childish, they're being like whatever negative things you associate with kids. We want you to be childlike. That's all the positive things that we associate with kids, right? Children know better than anyone how to connect with nature. You can go outside with kids and follow along in their childlike wonder to learn what there is to see and enjoy. Maybe chase a leaf until it blows too far away, or sit and watch a jay, or maybe roll around in the mud. Just do what they're doing, okay? Alternatively, if you don't have a child to play with, channel your inner child. Feel all the extremes of emotions that they do. Be absurdly joyful. Be curious to a fault. Go out and have fun. Play around. The picture on the left is my nephew, me and my nephew playing, and he clearly is experiencing childlike wonder, and I'm exhausted from chasing him around. I thought it was a good example. And then the right one is my partner, my backpacking partner, Blake, who always is very childlike in his exuberance, and it's very wonderful to be in nature with him. We don't have very much time left, but we can probably fit another slide or two in here. One of my favorite nature connection recommendations is a good segue from childlike wonder, and it's to play. Adults can play, kids can play, anyone can play. It doesn't matter how old you are, and you don't even need to be with kids. Just let loose, have fun, laugh a lot, and smile. You can play games that you played when you were kids, capture the flag, tag, hide and seek, or try something new that's more related to nature connection. Build a fire, do like mimic an animal, go climb a tree, something like that. Just have fun. Do anything that sounds fun. I've worked with a lot of people at all different ages, and games are always enjoyable. As long as people are focused and involved, they're going to have fun. You know, you just got to get them in the right mindset for it. Animal mimicry is a pretty good way to connect with nature. There's a lot of ways you can do that. You can watch local critters, identify them, follow their tracks, maybe try to figure out why they were going where they were going. You know, food, water, shelter, mating, do they have a nest, stuff like that. Then, once you kind of have a feel for the animal, maybe go look them up, figure out what their important survival characteristics are, and then go ahead and mimic their actions and characteristics. We have some things that we do, like with the kids. Deer ears kind of opens up your hearing. Fox walk is like a really gentle way to walk on the land. And owl eyes, you're like, you open up your eyes and you're not looking just straight forward. You're actually using most of your peripherals. It's pretty interesting. And actually, you can play a lot of games with things like that. But yeah, this is me. I covered myself in mud. There's like, you can't see it, but sticks in my hair. My hair was bright pink at the time, and I like just made it super ashy and kind of blend in more. My shirt and clothes are covered in dirt. And I was kind of like mimicking animals that perform camouflage for the express purpose of jumping out of a tree and scaring people, of course. But things like the horny toad right here and deer are really good masters of camouflage. And yeah, it's fun to mimic them. It's fun to use the mimicking skills however you like. Yeah, we got two more skills here for nature connection. Foraging, of course. I always have to bring up eating plants because that's what I do. But yeah, smelling, touching, tasting, all that good stuff with plants is an amazing way to connect with nature. Just please, please, please make sure you know that the plant's edible before you put it anywhere near your mouth or even touch it, because poison oak, you don't need to eat it to feel the negative effects. And finally, wilderness survival skills. This one, like, if you know how to make a fire, build a shelter, forage, purify water, make cordage, or anything else that could be useful in a survival situation, you're going to feel safer. And I think that feeling safe in nature is one of the most important things to connecting with it. A lot of people can't even create a basic like relationship with the natural world because they're afraid. They're afraid for their life, for their safety, for their health, whatever it is. But yeah, we think that this is a pretty good skill to learn, to connect with nature. And that's it. My next workshop is on the 2nd of March, and that'll be on storm safety and risk management. I don't know if May's going to be there, but I do believe Sydney, who's helped before, is going to be there. Yeah, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, we'll stick around. Thank you so much for coming. It's good to see you. I'm going to stop sharing, and how do I turn the video off? One sec.